Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan. Finally have NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs in full swing this week. So no more standings, updates, or previews or anything like that. Obviously that was fun, but now we get to discuss the real action and what a day of sports just last night. I mean, we had the Knicks-Sixers game with the Knicks coming back down 5 in the last minute of the game, able to pull off an epic win to go up 2-0
That
against the
that was
Sixers,
not,
and then
but that was not the most impressive comeback. That would go to
no,
Denver.
and then yeah, the Denver Nuggets right after that game came back against the Lakers. They were down 20. The Lakers were gonna come up with a win there, and the Nuggets made their effort to come all the way back. Jamal Murray hit the game winner over Anthony Davis, and it was crazy because I felt like the Lakers played like a really good game in that game. D'Angelo Russell was hitting shots, AD was playing good. They had a big lead, and still the Nuggets came back to win. So, some people are calling it the best doubleheader, in TNT history or they've ever seen. And I mean, it was a really good doubleheader. Two thrillers, two big wins by the home team, and in NHL, the Islanders blew a big lead, so the Hurricanes took a 2-0 series lead as well.
Two
So I mean,
goals
yeah, a lot
in
of
9 seconds. Two
two
goals in
goals
nine
in
seconds, and
9. Yeah,
it already didn't help that the Islanders had the worst, like going into the postseason. They had the worst penalty kill in the league, and that completely screwed them. Yeah, what should have
yeah,
been a
definitely
road,
that.
what should have been a road stealing win, has now turned into a 2-0 hole, and you can almost be certain that Patrick Wall was furious, and even that might have been an understatement.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, because Islanders were up 3-0, and then very quickly, Carolina tied the game, took the lead. Like I said, 2 goals in 9 seconds. Yeah, I was really surprised to see that one happen. But I mean, without the NBA action, I was busy watching all of that with the Knicks thriller. I was watching that with some of my friends. And then the Nuggets game, I thought the Lakers might have had that one in the bag. Turn it back on, saw the Nuggets with the buzzer beater, and yeah, I mean, great day of sports last night. This is exactly what playoff basketball and playoff hockey are all about, and just a great few days. I mean, we're really now in full swing. So I mean, yeah. So I guess what we could do is we could talk about all the different series. I was thinking we could just give a pulse of each NBA series, each NHL series, and just discuss I guess how they've gone so far, and maybe like what to expect in the coming games, or just kind of who has the advantage. Just talk about each series so far, and then we can, yeah, and maybe if we have still some time, we can talk about the NFL draft or something, some MLB. But we could start obviously the main focus today on the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, we already kind of highlighted it in a few minutes with the Knicks, Sixers, Lakers, Nuggets. I feel like those are probably two of the best series, but quite a lot more to get to. I don't know. Where do you want to? Where you want to start? You want to start with
Let
you want to
let's
start with
start with
the next Sixers game,
let's
or
yeah. I was gonna say overall, let's start with the inferior sport, which is basketball, and then move up to hockey. But
I think
I
that's
guess
that's probably a good idea. Or we could
let's
start with
start.
Magic
Let's
Cavs. I don't know.
no, here we'll work our way down from the, at least at the time this is being said, the like where 2 games have already been played. Let's start off with
Okay.
that first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So 2-game series. Yeah, 3 of them already have 2 games. So I could start with the Cavs Magic and then talk about Sixers next in just a second. But much to discuss here. I feel like this is the one that kind of gets overlooked a little bit, and maybe rightfully so. Both of these teams are defensive minded. Both teams scored under 100. 97-83. Second game, similar score, 96-86. Kind of defensive minded, but they got Boncaro making his playoff debut, former number 1 pick. So he had 21 the last game. Wagner at 18, but Franz Wagner, they also have Mo Wagner, and for the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell's been putting on a show the last couple games. First game, he had 30, second game 23. So I mean, determined Cavs team here. They're team. Jared Allen, former net, he had 16. Mobley had 17. So a bit more of a diverse scoring effort, I feel like, for the Magic. But both of these teams do play defensive basketball. The Magic definitely have the upper hand in this series, and with the stardom of Mitchell, they're looking to bounce back. At last year, obviously they lost 4-1 to the Knicks, so this year they're looking where they're almost definitely going to be up against a much tougher challenge in the Boston Celtics. But and for this series, I feel like the Magic definitely have. Not the Magic. The Cavs definitely have the advantage over the Magic. The Magic might be able to get one game back down in Orlando. I mean, it's been a good season for the Magic for sure. I mean, to become the 5 seed, kind of overachieve expectations a little bit. They're even higher in their conversation, but Cavs have kind of been in the top 4 almost all year. I think they're proving why they're still one of the best 4 teams in the East. They might be the 4th best team and no higher, but I think they definitely are the better team against the Magic. And I expect more of the same game 3 and game 4. Obviously, like I said, it's being overshadowed by the other 2 series, but yeah, those are kind of my takeaways from what I've seen of both of the games so far. So next up, all right, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was going to say the one difference between those that Cleveland can actually like create this thing called offense, and more importantly, can create this
Magic.
thing called create this thing called 3-point shooting. The Orlando Tragic have yet to showcase that they can consistently 3-point, competently. So until they do that, they're not winning anything. I mean, of course, like no one expected Orlando to. I mean, maybe not, maybe like not get into the playoffs, but like at least maybe not be at this level. So it'd at least be nice to see if Orlando wins a game, maybe 2. It'd at least be nice. I mean, Orlando's going to lose the series probably, but it'd at least be nice to see if they can win a game or 2 in this series.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can do so. Obviously, a series is shifting it over to Orlando, so home court definitely plays a big factor in these postseason. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they could steal a game, or possibly even 2. But I feel like it might end up being 4-1 Cavs, 4-2 Cavs, maybe just 4-1. But it'll be interesting to see if the Magic could take the next step, win a postseason game. Really show that they can kind of compete on this level against a similar defensive-minded Cavaliers team here. But I mean, while that was going on NBA TV last night, we got quite the treat at Madison Square Garden. Obviously, I already mentioned it in the open, but Knicks-Sixers, 2 games have been really good so far. Game 1 on Saturday, and game 2 on Monday. Last night, Monday night. But 2 close games. I feel these games are about as even as you can get for a playoff series, especially 2-7. I mean, this feels like maybe like a 2-4. It's like a second round matchup in the first round, because Sixers are definitely like an underseeded, or because they're an underseeded 7, because obviously Joel Embiid's injury, they started losing. But the Knicks, though, like they're a special team this year. Like,
I mean,
obviously I'm a Nets fan. But they've been playing with special kind of energy that, like, I think really separates them from the Sixers.
They're able to play fairly balanced basketball in spite of Jalen Brunson struggling. But of course, like Pete, I mean, even though Jalen Brunson is not fully living up to what he can do, he at least showed what he at least in the last like 30 seconds of game 2 yesterday, he had that clutch 3, which was able to trim down the deficit. Then of course, like that's where the Sixers started unfurling, and that's where I started laughing.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing about not getting the timeout, and then Maxey falling to the floor. I guess they might have missed some fouls there.
You saw Woj put out a tweet saying that should have I think that should have been a foul on Maxey, and that Nick Nurse should have been able to hold on to his timeout.
Yeah, I saw the last 2-minute report. There should have been a foul on, I think, a couple of Knicks players there. Nick Nurse should have got the timeout. So a lot of officiating went wrong there. But like, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the Sixers,
listen,
they need to be able
listen,
to
here's the thing.
execute that better.
When does officiating not suck? Like in baseball, we have Angel Hernandez, the king of suckitude.
Right.
In basketball, we have Scott Foster, we have Tony Brothers, and then before that
Yeah.
we had Crawford. He was, and then yeah. So like the NBA's had terrible refs. The NFL, I mean, come on, we don't really have to go down that rabbit hole. And of course, hockey's had its fair share of bad calls. Like, yeah. So, officiating does always suck. And yes, there are certain times when officials must be blamed. And personally, I think referees should be held accountable for the calls. Like, they should have to attend press conferences to say why they blew like a certain play dead when the play was live, or like why a foul wasn't called here, despite there being clear and obvious contact, something like that. I feel like refs should be, um, like I'm saying this for all sports. They need to go. They need to have like a press conference of why they announce certain calls or not. But at the end of the day, you can only blame officials so much. Like you saw the stat sheet. Like in the second half, Philadelphia shooting and overall just driving. It went down. It was a it was a significant downgrade from what they were doing in the first half. Like it seemed like the Sixers moved away too much from their game plan, and ultimately that's why they screwed themselves. So while you can blame officials as much as you want, you still have to acknowledge that you still have to play basketball, or at least try to play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. No, the execution was not, it just wasn't great. I mean, but I mean, I feel like that's just kind of just a problem for the Knicks in general. I mean for the Sixers, and yeah, and with their execution, it's sloppy. So you can only blame the officials so much. But I mean, I feel like the Sixers are they're probably the more talented team, but the Knicks are playing with so much life and energy. I think that's what's
Mm,
creating the
I
big
don't know.
difference in the
I don't know.
series.
I think the talent is balanced because sure, Joel Embiid's a superstar, and when he's healthy, he's probably a top five, definitely at least top 10. But top five, yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah,
grant that. But when he's healthy, the Sixers are well diversified. The problem is when, as Joel Embiid is, when he's not healthy. So basically, every four
that's
games
true.
almost.
It's negated. Yeah. So then,
Okay,
I mean,
so
Tyrese Maxey's been playing good, but like, the most improved player, I think he definitely deserves that. And,
I
I
think
think will Hart. I mean, you can make a case for some other players, but I think
no,
he
no.
really
I
has.
think
I think
here's
with
the thing.
Harden going to the
No,
Clippers, he's really stepped
no.
up, and I think it's
I
really
think
helped them. But I mean, besides that,
I think you can actually make a case that
yes,
Maxi is the. I think you can actually make a case that Maxi's the best player in the Sixers, because not just because like
I
he's
think so too.
consistent, but not just because he's consistent, but more importantly, he's consistently healthy. I mean, what do you want? Who do you want? A
Exactly.
superstar that can? No, would you rather have a superstar that can put up like? I mean, I don't know Joel Embiid's stat line right off the top of my head, but I'm just going to assume this. Like, would you rather have a superstar center that puts up 25 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 6 or 7 assists, but is only healthy for half the season? Or would you rather build around a guy who's, and again, I don't know Maxi's stat line off the top of my head. Would you rather have a guy that's 17 points per game, 5, 6 assists a night, eight, like, 6, 7, 8 rebounds, and he's there for at least like 70, 72 games a season? I personally, I'd much rather take that because at least I can count on his presence. At least I can count on his well-rounded versatility. Now, I'm not saying Embiid isn't well-rounded in his versatility. He's got a lot of talent. Like, he could shoot, he could drive, he could
Mm,
score, he can flop,
yeah,
he can get free throws, he can
he
take
shot
charges,
fouls.
he can whine for calls.
Oh, thank you.
But the one thing the man cannot do is stay healthy. That's the
I
one
agree.
thing he
Yeah.
can't do.
And it's definitely had a big
So
impact on him this series. I mean, like, him obviously kind of
not just
re-aggravating
this,
is
not
when he went
no,
up for
not
the
just
dunk, re-aggravating that, and he's been
no, not
just like
just
a
this
step
series. What are you
slower.
talking?
We see an effect on him, but
No, what are
yeah.
you talking about? Not
Wait,
just
what
this
happened?
series. This entire. I'm saying like
This
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 injury
entire
problem.
season. I mean, he was injured. He
No,
came
no, no, no,
back. I
no,
mean,
no.
he was
No,
still like not really able to drive and dunk and all that
no,
stuff. But
no. I'm
yeah,
saying
we've seen
forget
it.
the season. I'm saying forget the season. It's been a problem for his entire career.
Yeah,
That's
he's been in and
think
out for sure.
no
Yeah,
think about it. Think
definitely.
about it.
I agree.
Pretty much every single playoff series, or not series, pretty much every single playoff run the Sixers have had, he's been injured in some facet. Pretty much every single one. You can't depend on Embiid consistently
Yeah, that's true.
because of his injuries.
Hmm.
That's the problem. So that's why
Yeah,
ultimately the Knicks. That's why ultimately the Knicks should win this series. It's because you cannot depend on Embiid, and that matters most. It's not because he doesn't have
I
talent,
agree.
or because he's a choke artist. It's because he can't stay healthy. Like you can, like think. This is where and you know me. I dislike LeBron James with a passion, but this is where you. Sh- this is where it comes to mind, and especially like over the last few years, load management for some reason has been a heavy topic, most famously with the Clippers. This is where you come to respect part of LeBron James's game, and this is coming from someone like me, because I mean he in the playoffs doesn't matter how old or how tired the dude is. You can consistently count on him for high 30s, if not low to mid 40 minutes per game, like in the playoffs. And LeBron, of course, does not rest during the playoffs. Embiid, he tries to rest as much in the regular season, and he's still hurt. Like, what the hell are you gonna
yeah,
do?
yeah. No, I agree. But yeah, so I guess yeah. I mean, in that case, like in terms of the talent thing, it is kind of a lot negated. But I mean, I guess the thing is Brunson's been playing like so bad too, but the Knicks have still found ways to win, and I think that just speaks on,
Yeah,
the Knicks like
because of
their determination,
DiVincenzo.
their bench, their talent. DiVincenzo's been
DiVincenzo.
hitting big threes. Yeah, McBride as well. He's been playing really well.
Yeah.
Hartenstein,
I mean,
Robinson,
here's the
and
thing.
their team they're flying. They're just playing with so much
Um,
Josh Hart. They're just
I'm
hitting big
here.
shots or getting
Here's the
rebounds.
thing.
I don't see that
They
from
could
the
probably.
Sixers outside of like two
I
guys.
mean, listen. The Knicks can probably survive this series with Jalen Brunson. With Jalen Brunson, like like shooting in the tank. But
Yeah,
next round they probably can't because
next
you're
round,
already no because you're already down a man in Julius Randle. So, uh, and if Brunson
yeah,
Julius Randle was arguably your number two guy. So now that he's gone, you cannot afford Brunson to just be chucking bricks every night. You need him to
that's
be
true.
Jalen frickin' Brunson.
Yeah, exactly. They need him to be the 30-point scorer. The guy who was getting, on one in the MVP discussion, who really got the Knicks to that second seed because next round, I mean, people thought the Bucks were down and out. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, without Giannis, game one, they asked Dame Lillard to really lit them up, so that could be a scary opponent in the second round. Even if that's another team that's going to be a tough out, but I mean, I feel like the Bucks might be in this thing for real. But I guess before we get to that, our final 2-0 series so far, the Denver Nuggets taking down the Lakers in the second half, the doubleheader. Um, yeah, more of the same. It's like every year the same kind of stuff happens. Like it feels like the Lakers they've I feel like they've played their best games of the series already. Like game 1 they were up 60-57 at the half. They're hitting shots. The Nuggets still found a way to take over. Their ball
I mean,
movement,
50
they can get
7
guys
isn't big
open. They're
though.
just on another level. Yeah, it's not a big lead, but
It's
like just to even get that lead, they were like, it took a lot. But then the second game, I think that went to a whole another level where the Lakers were up by 20 in the third quarter. They're up 15 at the half, and some of the Nuggets still found a way to make a comeback and
I mean,
get the
I'd like to
win. Taking the
I'd
skull
like
out
to
of the
point something out
Lakers.
there. Yeah, I'd like to point something out. Like, if you look at it
Hmm.
from a game two character perspective, Jamal Knight and let's see, Jamal Murray and Jalen Brunson last night were effectively the same person. I mean, of course, point guards, duh, but they had pretty bad shooting nights. They're facilitating the game more rather than trying to take over the game until the last 5 minutes of the game. That's when the lights turned on them. That's when they started driving to the basket. That's when they started taking control of the game. And ultimately, Jamal Murray hit the game winner. But Knicks don't win the game if Jalen Brunson doesn't clutch up that three, where they don't understand, where
True.
within the last 30 seconds, like all that chaos happens for the Knicks to regain possession and take the lead. So effectively, those two were basically the same player, like from start to finish of the game. They started the game quite badly, but they finished on a high note, ultimately taking their team to a 2-0 series lead.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, both of them struggled. And then they both found a way. I mean, not Julius, so Jalen Brunson and Jamal Murray both hitting the big shots in the key moments. Of course, Nikola Jokic was his usual self, which of course definitely helps things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like the Lakers they might have played their best game of the series and they short, which I don't think is gonna really help them when they get back to LA. I mean, they might be able to get a game, but they honestly like not because like that might have been their best game. Like AD was playing at such a high level. LeBron was like playing at a high level. D'Angelo Russell had 23 points and 7 threes. I don't think we're gonna see that again for the rest of the series. So I mean, this might be like the one the Lakers really needed if they wanted to really win the series. I mean, it might be over, but the Nuggets are like like I said, they're on another level. Jokic, he had 20 rebounds, a triple double. Jamal Murray, even when he wasn't playing well, he found his groove. I mean, even Michael Porter Jr. in a big performance hit a big three to kind of counter the LeBron dunk, and Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun. They're deep too. They have like other guys that also provide scoring
They're,
when
they're,
beyond the two
they're not
superstars.
they're
So, I
not
mean,
really missing the
they're not
Nugget.
really deep. They have a good starting five, I guess.
No, but I'm saying they're not really missing
Yeah, yeah.
what's his name from last year. They're not really missing Bruce Brown. Not really.
I know. Yeah, I was thinking they might, but it seems like they're just fine. I mean, they got KCP, Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon. I mean, MPJ. I mean, yeah, they still got guys who could score the ball. They still have a couple key reserves, but I mean, their starting five is probably like one of the best in the entire NBA. And it's not just Jokic Murray. It's also like Porter and Gordon and some of the other guys, even KCP and Christian Brown, they all have big roles. So when you have all like 5, 6 guys who can do that night in, night out, and the Lakers have maybe 2, sometimes 3, like that's going to create a big difference. And D'Angelo
Here,
Russell, I
wait,
don't
wait,
think you're getting
wait,
another 23
wait, wait.
point performance
Aren't
out of him
here? Here's the
the rest of
question I
the
want you.
series.
Here's the question I want you to answer. So of course we know the Batman and Robin for both teams. I mean, it's up to you to determine
Mm-hmm.
who's who. There's LeBron and Davis, and there's Jokic and Murray. Who's the number three guy? Like who's the third most dependable guy on each team? On the Nuggets, you could say it's either Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. On the Lakers, who's that guy? Who is it?
That's a good question. That's kind of what I was saying. Like they don't really have like a third guy. I mean, in this game, it looks like it could have been D'Angelo Russell. It definitely was,
No, no,
but
no.
in
No, I'm saying
overall,
it
like I
doesn't.
don't. That's
No,
definitely not like that.
what I'm saying is like it doesn't necessarily have to be the consistent third guy because the third consistent guy usually rotates between Aaron Gordon or MPJ for the Nuggets. The problem is the
Right.
Lakers don't really
The
have
Lakers don't have one.
a third most dependable guy. If LeBron sucks,
Exactly.
or AD sucks, or hopefully, fingers crossed, both of them suck, you don't have another guy who can
It's
carry the
over.
boats. You don't have another guy who can carry the logs. So like the
Yeah.
Lakers are kind of screwed in that sense if LeBron and AD are limited. But if Jokic and Murray are limited, KCP is there
They
off the
still have a
bench.
guy.
Christian Braun is there off the
Mm-hmm.
bench.
Yep.
Aaron Gordon is there. Michael Porter Jr. is there. Who do the Lakers have
Exactly.
that's consistently that guy when LeBron and AD have their off nights? You can't possibly tell me it's Austin Reeves. You can't possibly tell me
Mm.
it's Vanderbilt. And I will laugh in your
No.
face if you tell me it's D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had to guess, I'd probably say Hachimura, but like, I mean, he's not really up there either, to be honest. So, but yeah,
See, I'm
that's
not.
kind of the
I'm not
problem.
even
That
saying.
exactly.
See, I'm not even saying this question to hate. I'm saying this question because I genuinely don't know the answer.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because they don't have one. They don't have, they don't have like the Nuggets, like, all these guys could score. I mean, even Porter Jr., Garden, Christian Brown, who's a bench player, much more involved bench player, KCP. I mean, they can all provide scoring. They can all help out the team. They're all, they can all be like the third best player behind Jokic and Murray. The Lakers, like they don't really, yeah, exactly. They don't really have one. Like in this game, I guess it was D'Angelo Russell, but overall they don't really have one, and they still lost today. So like that's what I mean. It's probably their best effort. They're probably not gonna play a game as good, and they snake one. So like that's the thing. Like it's probably like game series already. At this point, although we'll see. The Lakers might be able to get one, but yeah, I mean, if they can't find like a reliable a real third option, they're definitely gonna have trouble because the Nuggets can definitely, they have at least 3 or 4 guys who can go on any given night, and even and then they got like 2 more who could still play like a supporting role behind them. So like yeah, that's kind of that's the issue with the Lakers.
Right.
But I guess moving yeah, so yeah, I guess moving forward through the rest of the series, so we're done with the 2-0s, or the series that have 2 games played. Now we have the series that have 1 game played so far. Suns Timberwolves. Obviously that one's going
some
on.
have a second.
It's going on
Some are gonna have a second game by the end of tonight, but it doesn't matter. Let's just
by the end of
analyze the
tonight.
first game.
By the time this is posted, the second game.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let's just talk
Lakers,
about the
but,
first game. Just talk about the first.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Let's not get into the second game, but so for Suns Timberwolves, I mean the takeaway from game 1, and I'm kind of seeing this. It might be a little bit of a different story throughout the series, but the Wolves really impressed in game 1. The Suns kind of disappointed, and I was not expecting I thought the Wolves could win, but I didn't expect them to win by 25. And what I really enjoyed was the whole
I
Anthony
said Suns and
Edwards like
I I
yeah.
said Suns and
You said
6, so I
Suns
feel
and
like an
6,
idiot.
right?
Yeah, so I feel like an
Yeah, I
idiot
feel
right
like the
now.
Suns are obviously the Suns with like Booker, Durant, and Beal. They're obviously the more talented team. But I mean, the Wolves. I mean, they still got like they got Edwards, they got Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. Like the nice center duo. But yeah, what really impressed me was Anthony Edwards really just I'm going off. I'm shooting. I'm really showing off his range. I'm going at KD, even talking some trash towards KD, which I think KD probably appreciates more than anyone because he's that type of player too. But I mean, Anthony Edwards just really putting the team on his back and getting the Wolves a big game game 1 win, really setting the tone for the series, showing Phoenix that they can't just rely on their talent here. They're gonna have to step it up because it wasn't good enough. And yeah, I mean, the Wolves definitely had a great performance. Obviously, Edwards with 33 led the way, but I mean, you know, Gobert at 14, Towns with 19, Nikhil Alexander-Walker at 18, Naz Reid with 12. I mean, they also have like 4 or 5 guys who can contribute as well. So that definitely helps. Jane McDaniels had 9. So I mean, they got a variety of scoring, but I mean, Anthony Edwards really had a big performance. And although KD at 31, Booker at 18, O'Neal at
Devin Booker
14,
shot
like
like piss.
yeah, he had a bad
Yeah.
shooting performance as well. So I mean,
Bad
yeah, no,
bad
great win
is
for
an
the Timberwolves.
understatement. Bad is an understatement.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I missed game 1 of that one, but I watched the later too. But yeah, no, it was just a tone-setting win for the Wolves. Just not great at all by the Suns. And I mean, well, yeah, I guess we'll have to see how Phoenix can bounce back. Because obviously, this one is definitely not over in 1 game. Checking the score right now, it's 51-50 Phoenix at halftime. So that's definitely going to be more competitive throughout the rest of the series. But yeah, I mean, the Wolves definitely set the tone. Edwards is definitely, kind of staking his claim as like, probably one of the stars of the future and even of the present. And I think that's good for the game. It's an exciting Wolves team. They have size. They have good shooting. They can stretch the floor, but they also could dominate in the paint. And there's a reason why that's the Western Conference's 3 seed because they they definitely are better than a lot of teams, and they're definitely going to give the Suns a series. Whether they win or not, I'm not too sure. But I think the Suns could also, could come back on them. But that's the pulse of that series. I feel like it's going to be a good one. The Wolves are definitely not going to back down. I guess going on to Pacers Bucks, another game that at the time of the recording, game 2 is in progress. But Another one where it was a tone setter by the Bucks. I mean, I feel like the analysis that a lot of people had going into the series is without Giannis, the Bucks are going to be in trouble. The Pacers, you know, especially with like Doc Rivers coaching them, the Pacers are a talented team, and they got Halliburton, they got Siakam, they got guys that can play, and the Bucks are, could be in trouble. But in Game 1, I mean, not the case. Damian Lillard 35 all in the first half for the before the Pacers basically doubled and triple teamed him. But I mean, it was an impressive showing. The Pacers closed within 15 at the end. Siakam had a monster 36-point game, but really, like Dame Dollar, he was hitting shots from his usual range. Just, had the green light, was making everything. He really put the team on his back. And then 23, Bobby Portis at 15, Brook Lopez at 11. Don't count out the Bucks just yet. I mean, obviously the Celtics are in the Eastern Conference; they're going to be the favorites. But I mean, if Giannis and he has, with the spacing of this team, Middleton and Dame can really, if they're going, they both have an outside shot. They both are great scorers. If Giannis can attack the paint, I mean, you have a big three that could probably compete with any team like in the league, at least maybe in the Eastern Conference. So I mean, it's a long way away. I mean, they still have Sixers here. And with Doc Rivers coaching, it's hard to trust. I feel like the Bucks have underwhelmed for large parts of the season, despite finishing with the third best record.
Especially after
Obviously,
the
Doc Rivers
30-13.
Yeah,
Especially after the
especially
30-13
after they fired their
firing of
coach.
Griffin.
Yeah, exactly. After they fired Adrian Griffin, they really struggled after that. It took them a while before they got their mojo back. When they did, they've been better, but they really did struggle quite a bit. But if those three could really come together, I mean, as we're seeing like Dame and Chris Middleton go off for buckets, if you put Giannis in there, they could space the floor, attack the paint. I mean, that could be a tough out, but I mean, it's a big if. It's like, if Giannis comes back, he's healthy, he's effective. If Dame can keep the shooting going, this type of going, and Middleton can keep it going, they have a good chance of, possibly at least making the finals. But I mean, a good chance, as good as a chance of anybody to beat the Celtics this year in the Eastern Conference, I would say. And they could probably also beat the Knicks, but it's like a lot of ifs because, if things don't work out, they could also lose as early as the second round, maybe even the first round. But if everything comes together, I think, they have a run in them. And yeah, so I mean, that's kind of my takeaway after one game. Like, the dream isn't dead in Milwaukee. They're definitely back. They're definitely for real. We haven't even seen Giannis get there, and they already gave the Pacers one heck of a statement. So we'll see if that continues. If the
But
trend continues,
on the
I think
flip
it's
side,
something to worry about.
yeah. But on the flip side, this is Tyrese Halliburton's first ever playoff game. So of course, there's something to
That's
look up
true.
to there. But now that he has time to settle down, maybe he has more time to get into the groove for game two. Same with the rest of the Pacers. I mean, the Pacers team is fairly young blood, fairly. Milwaukee. I mean, as much as I said Pacers and Sixers an upset. And I'll stick with that for now. But of course, Milwaukee has more of the veteran experience. Giannis, they got Chris Middleton. They had Portis. They had Brook Lopez. Yeah, they're still there, of course. So yeah, I mean, again, the Pacers basically being the new kids on the block. Like you feel like a lot of pressure for the first game to perform well, and hey, you don't do that. So now the question is, how are you going to bounce back?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, how do they bounce back? I mean, that's a good question because the Pacers are definitely not out of it by any means. It's been one game, so I guess I was kind of trying to look at it big picture. Like, if the Bucks, they are healthy and they can get their big three going, they could be probably the favorites against even the Knicks, and give the Celtics a good fight. If any team can do that in the East, it's probably them. That being said, I mean, yeah, the Pacers, it's definitely early, and maybe there was some game one nerves, and they've definitely had less experience, but they've been a pretty good team. I mean, Halliburton definitely getting his feet under him in the playoffs. I mean, like I said, they got Siakam, they got Miles Turner, so they're up 26-23 right now in here in game two. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a series. I feel like part of it depends on when Giannis can get back. I mean, I feel like it kind of does feel a little bit like the Heat series last year against the Bucks, where the Heat were trying to kind of get to before Giannis got back, and then even when Giannis got back, they still pulled through because Jimmy Butler. But in this case, the Pacers might have to rely on that. But at the same time, like I think they could give the Bucks a right. I mean, I don't think it's over in one game, but I mean, I'm much more confident in the Bucks now. Before I was really before I saw Game 1, I was like, yeah, I mean, the Pacers they probably they could probably do it. But now I'm like, no, I think the Bucks could probably pull this one out even if they don't have Giannis healthy. And then depending on when he gets back, I mean, that could really work out for them to close out the series or get into the second round. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting series for sure. Yeah, I thought the Pacers actually might change. I feel like now it's flipped. I feel like the Bucks definitely showed who they are and that they can win without Giannis. And I feel like they could probably get through the series without him, but it won't be easy. But I feel like they could. It depends on how these opening games go. Obviously, if the Pacers steal one and then they get home court back, it's flipped. But as of now, I'm still leaning. I'm leaning on Milwaukee's side after game one. But we'll have to see about that. It should be a good one. And then I guess moving forward into the series, Mavs Clippers, game two set for a 10 p.m. tip here on the East Coast. Game one, another. I feel like I've already said this about different series, but another tone setter there. James Harden had a good performance as he sometimes does in the playoffs, but he really did. He had 28 points. He had 20 points early. The Clippers were up by like 30 at like half. It was like pretty ridiculous. Although Luka Doncic had 33, Kyrie at 31, they really don't anyone else. Like that's another team that has exactly two good players, and that's not going to work. It's the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard. They had Harden with 28, Paul George with 22, Russell Westbrook at 13. Man's playing good. He had 13. They have like 3 or 4 like real stars, and like I didn't think it could come together. Well, it looks like in game one, like it might come together really nice for the Clippers, and I think that can work really well for them. So yeah, Clippers I think have the advantage in this series. Mavs I don't think really are gonna have the best of chances at this series. They struggled to beat the Clippers when the Clippers weren't this healthy or talented, and I don't think anything's gonna change now. So I think the Clippers. I think the Clippers are probably of any team, if they can also stay healthy and stuff. They're probably the best chance. They're probably the best contender to the Denver Nuggets if they're both going to get into the Western Conference Finals.
That's what we've been saying about the Clippers for 3 years now.
Yeah, but I think this year, I think it could come together. Like it's never come together. They've never been healthy at the same time, or anything. And now they added Harden, they added Westbrook. So I mean, and it seems like they're other than Kawhi, who I think is coming back tonight. I think they're all healthy at the same time. So let's see how this goes. I think it could be a good one. It could be a good year for the Clippers too, with all the young teams, with less experience and less stardom. But yeah. Other than that, 2 more series, I guess, to get to. Heat Celtics. I think that one's might just be a wrap already. Like,
No,
we don't know that yet.
Don't count us in that just yet.
I mean, without Jimmy Butler. Without Jimmy Butler, it's going to be tough for the Heat, but they still got guys like Tyler Hero. He's a baller. Caleb Martin, Adebayo. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, they got guys who can, if they have like a game where they don't miss, or the Celtics have an off game, I think the Heat can still probably get a game because they've been scrappy. I mean, the way they played against like the Sixers in the play-in, pretty scrappy team. Yeah. I mean, that being like, it might not be like 100% over, but I mean, plus they have like Jaime Hawkins who's been playing good. So they have different guys who can contribute, but I still feel like the Celtics are in a much better position this year than they were last year. It could be a sweep, it could be 5, but I mean, I think it's probably going to be sweep 5, but I think it's not going to go farther than that. I mean, because Celtics really do have the best starting 5, I think, in the league with Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, great addition, Drew Holiday, Derek White. I mean, they got size, shooting, defense, like you name it. They got Al Horford coming off the bench. Tim Hauser's played better. They got guys who can contribute on the bench too. Pritchard.
Peyton
I mean,
Pritchard.
but the starting five is really, yeah, Peyton
Yeah.
Pritchard. I mean, he's, he can shoot. So I mean, I expect the Celtics to keep rolling. Hopefully not too much stress, but I mean, it's like you can kind of never really count the Heat out, despite Jimmy Butler being out. But I think this year is going to be much easier compared to what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So that's how I see that one going. Celtics, obviously, they have aspirations way beyond that this year, and I'm excited to see how some of these Super Series play out with the Celtics and whoever comes out of the Bucks and the Knicks and stuff like that. That's a little bit in the future. And I guess to wrap up, on the NBA side, we got Pelicans Thunder. Game one actually was quite a thriller, as a lot of the
I
series
count
have
this.
been, but I
I'm,
wasn't really
I count
expecting
this.
it.
I count this more as a loss on the Thunder, even though they won, because that game should not have been that close. Like CJ McCollum
Yeah,
hits the
yeah,
shot. The series, like home court is automatically stolen. So, I I count this as a loss for the Thunder, honestly. Even though in the record books it goes down as a win.
I agree. I don't think it should have been that close to begin with either, because yeah, I mean it's the number one seeded Thunder. They got obviously they have
And
Shea
for
Gilgeous
and,
Alexander, and they
and
got a lot of different
Zion's not
guys.
even going to be playing.
Yeah,
Zion's not
exactly,
even going to be playing.
exactly.
So yeah,
And the Pelicans had a scrappy win against Sacramento, but I mean I feel like the Thunder are definitely the better team. Yeah, without Zion Williamson for sure. I mean, Pelicans really shouldn't be in this, but great game one effort. I think all five of their starters, or at least four of them, in double figures. Especially McCollum, Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy. They're talented. They have some guys. Jose Alvarado, of course. I'm sure people know him, but the Thunder. If with obviously they got Chet Holmgren, they got Jalen Williams. They're both playing at a really high level. They got Luguentz Dort, who's
don't
a
wait,
very good
don't they
defensive guard.
don't they have two
Shea
Jalen
Gilgeous is playing
Williams?
at a. They have two, yeah. They also have Jalen Williams with a different spelled name.
That's
Yeah.
definitely not
There's Jalen,
confusing.
and then there's Jalen with a Y, and then one of them's like a starter, one of them's a bench guy. But and then yeah, I mean those are their main guys. Shea Gilgeous Alexander playing at a pretty high level, like MVP candidate level. So he's definitely gonna try to continue this team on his back, and hopefully the Thunder do close it out. I feel like based on game one, it could be a tougher series than people anticipate, but I think the Thunder will get their feet under them and, probably close it out in 5-6, I would think, and move on to the second round where they're probably Clippers in the second round. So that should be an interesting one for sure. But assuming things hold. But yeah, I mean I guess that's kind of how the NBA first round's going so far. A lot of exciting series. I think none gets more exciting than Lakers Nuggets, and especially Knicks 76ers. I'm most excited about those two, but plenty of good action around the first round as well. Even like the Suns Timberwolves, another great one as well. So Bucks Pacers could be interesting. So first round in the NBA definitely going well. Doubleheader, yeah, yesterday was excellent, but yeah, I mean that's how that's going. On the other side, I mean, while all of this is going on, the NHL playoffs are also going on the
The
first round.
superior
So I
sport.
mean, any exciting series there. The superior sport. Honestly, as much as I like the NBA, there's nothing like the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like that's a whole nother level of intensity and
Finally,
excitement.
finally, now you're speaking sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like like I was watching some basketball, and then I'm just like I want to watch the hockey because it's so exciting. Like especially like Avalanche Jets, like 7-6 in game one. Like that was more exciting than the Bucks blowing out the Pacers. So I was watching that. So I guess what we could do the eight series rundown, and before we sign off. Obviously, I'm gonna defer to you
All right,
for most of it. I'll definitely help out as well because I was watching a bit
all
of
right.
it. But yeah, start where
I'll
you're
try. I'll try and speed through this. So I'll start with perhaps the most boring matchup to start round one. Islanders Canes. Game one. Frederick Anderson, goalie for the Canes. He was an absolute brick wall in net and prevented basically the Islanders from having any real chance in the game. So that's how Hurricanes took game one. And as we covered in the opener, Hurricanes were down 3-0 to start, and then they just slowly fought their way back in. And when they tied it 3-3, then they had 2 goals within 9 seconds to take the lead and take the victory and steal one from the Islanders. So Hurricanes leads New York's 2-0. Then an original six matchup here. Game one, Boston Bruins versus Toronto. Boston, from the minute out the gate, they just started the game. To start the game, of course, it was extremely physical. You could tell both teams were really just Max Domi and Brad Marchand hate each other. But of course, in hockey, when two teams or two players on the opposing teams hate each other, it's a great game. So, likewise,
Yeah.
likewise, within the first couple of minutes, Johnny Beecher, fourth liner for the Bruins, scores in his playoff debut, scores his first goal. Then Brandon Carlo scores. Then Jake DeBrusk, who's had a fairly disappointing hot and cold season, he puts on 2 goals in the power play. The Leafs get one right back with Kampf. And then Trent Frederick buries the empty netter, 5-1. And then game two yesterday, which I unfortunately wanted to be a Bruins victory, did not turn out to be so. The Bruins started out, you could tell within the first period, these three teams were significantly less focused on physicality and more focused on versatility and shifting and maneuvering of the puck. So first, Bruins start the scoring, then it gets timed by the Leafs. Then David Pastrnak scores towards the tail end of the first period. Then he gets tied again, and then unfortunately, John Tavares buries in the game winner within the third period. The thing that pissed me off about the third period was that the Bruins did not put many shots on net within the first half of the third period. It seemed like the Bruins were just playing very lackadaisical offense. And of course, you're already down a defenseman because Andrew Peeke went out of the game because of I think what looked like a wrist or hand injury. So I think Parker Wotherspoon or Mason Lohrei will be called up in his place. And so yeah, Toronto stole a game here, and so it's a completely different ballgame now. Boston definitely needs to steal one in Toronto. I mean, in order to win any of these series, you need to steal a game on the road without any question. So I personally like it. No, Boston needs to steal game three in my mind. They cannot trail 2-1 and then take game four. That is not what you do, because if you take game three, you have more dictation over the rest of the series. So I hope, and of course, the biggest question with the Bruins, it seems like to me for game three they'll probably go back to Swayman, because of course, when you have a goalie tandem that's as successful as the Bruins and you rotate every game, both goalies are healthy, both are fresh every game. Naturally, one doesn't get worn out. Of course, from the torture that is last year, we saw what happens if you deviate from the pattern. So I think Jim Montgomery's learned his lesson, and I stand by him sticking with Allmark for game two. So, but now it's probably going to go back to Swayman for game three. So we'll see what happens. All I do know is this: from the regular season and the postseason of the 2023-2024 season, every time Swayman's in net against the Leafs, the Bruins win. So let's see if that continues. Moving on, we have the Battle of Florida. One game's in the books, and the second one's currently being played. The Panthers beat the Lightning 3-2, and honestly kind of similarly to how the Bruins were kind of passive in shot attempts in the third period of game two, the Lightning were just passive in shot attempts for the entire game. Sure, the Lightning have a blazing amount of talent, of forward talent to score on offense, but you didn't really show any of that. The Panthers just completely skated circles around you, and the Panthers will use whatever edge they can to obtain that from you. So the Lightning definitely needs in my view, the Lightning definitely needed to win game one to set more of a tone. But seeing as how at the time of this recording from Game 2, they were down 2-0 initially, and now they've tied up the game with about 5 minutes left in the second period. The Lightning are definitely showing more resiliency, but let's see if they can actually hold on for a win. Now moving on to Caps Rangers. So the first game, of course, the Rangers' favorite guy of all time, probably Matt Rempe at this point. He
Oh
managed to
god, I
score in his.
cannot believe he scored the first goal.
He's
I turned on that game. I saw that they scored 2 more goals, and I was just like so frustrated. I started watching like
yeah
Mavs stuff.
he scored in his
It's like
playoff debut. He scored in his
unbelievable.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
what's more shock.
it's
I'll tell you
crazy.
what's more shocking. I think what's more shocking is that Ovechkin did not score a shot on goal. Like, we're talking about arguably the greatest goal
Yeah,
stealer
that
of all
is
time.
crazy.
Arguably,
Right.
he didn't register a
Yeah.
shot on goal. Like, come on,
They were cold on like the
Alex
penalty
freaking
kill or in the
Ovechkin.
power play too. Yeah. They didn't even get a shot on like one of the power plays. I was like a little bit
Yeah,
surprised. But I mean, hey,
the
like the
Rangers
Rangers,
did
they
an
have a good team this year. So.
Rangers did an excellent
Wait, what?
job killing. No, I'm saying they did an excellent job
Mm-hmm.
killing. And right now, the
Yeah.
second period, the third period of Game 2, Rangers lead 4-2. With about 16 minutes left at
Yeah.
the time of this recording. So it seems like right now the Rangers, I can't exactly say have this on the wraps because anything can happen. 15 minutes is a lot of time in hockey. Now,
That's true.
let's start. I mean, we would know from the Nashville Predators versus the Canucks game. I thought Nashville was going to hold on for the upset. They had a 2-1 lead going into the third period. And then all of a sudden, the Canucks had a barrage of goals to take the lead back in the third period. Then, of course, this was still a good game played by Nashville, uh, but they just broke down within. They just broke down at inopportune times, and of course, Quinn Hughes, he's able to get the Canucks back into the game. Um, I thought this was a very well played game by both teams. Of course, the winning team will look better on paper, but this game doesn't tell the entire story because Nashville was in control for most of the game until, of course, the last 10 minutes. But still, you can't just say I won the puck possession game. That's not going to win you any sympathy points. You need to win the game.
Right.
So let's see how Nashville bounces back for Game 2. And likewise, a team that needs to bounce back from their Game 1 loss, the Avs against the Jets. This was the best Game 1 for hockey during this playoff so far.
Such a good
Absolute
game.
best.
Such a good game. I was watching
No,
that, and just so much scoring. Like it was just goal
no,
after goal
you
after goal,
you
and
had
Winnipeg held on.
you had
Obviously.
you had electric offense, and then you had clutch defense too. Well,
A lot of
for
good
more
saves by
of
both
one,
goalies.
yeah,
Yeah.
for more than one team than the other. Like 3-3 to start the first period, and then Winnipeg scores the only goal in the second, 4-3, and then we have scores galore. The Avs pour on 3, then Winnipeg scores on 3. I mean, the Avs had to rally back. I think from the the Avs had to rally back from two different 2-goal deficits, and they still nearly tied up the game. The problem was Alexander Georgiev should have made a lot more saves than goals let in. Like,
That's true. Yeah.
wait, do you remember Adam Lowry's? I think it was his first goal, where the puck was basically just bouncing off the goalpost, and then it just barely went in, like it barely crossed the line, so
Yeah, I
it
saw it.
just
I
barely
saw
counted
that.
as a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, here's the thing: Connor Hellebuck is most likely win the Vezina Trophy winner. He's most likely win the Vezina. And for anyone that doesn't understand hockey lingo, Vezina basically means best goalie in the league. So the Colorado Avalanche scored 6 goals on the road in Winnipeg against the best goalie in the league, and they still lost. This 100% of the blame goes on Georgiev, especially when you're letting the 2 or 3
Yeah.
quite easy goals. Like, Nathan MacKinnon must have been pissed as hell after that game. And whenever Nathan MacKinnon wakes up pissed and ready to play and ready to go out for blood, expect the show. So I expect the Avs to show a lot more resiliency against the Jets. I mean, here's the thing. This series, whoever wins, it would not be an upset. Whoever wins. Because both teams are heavily stacked. Both teams are well balanced. Both teams facilitate the puck very well. Both teams are heavy cup favorites, and both teams are fairly likable. So, like, it would not be an upset either way. But Colorado definitely needs to steal one. They need game two, otherwise you're screwed. And let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with a couple more game ones, and then that's just about it. Okay, so game one yesterday, the Vegas Golden Knights against the Dallas Stars, and we all know Mark Stone miraculously yet again makes another recovery just in time for game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't know how he manages to do that, just so conveniently on time. I love that dedication that he's able to just able to get healthy enough just to start the playoffs. I love that about Mark Stone. Anyways, he scores the first goal of the game. So naturally, and Vegas steals one against the Stars. You remember the matchup? You remember last week in the matchup? I said if Vegas plays the Stars, it is a much more favorable matchup for Vegas than if they were to go against the Oilers in the first round. What did I say? Vegas steals one against the Stars. What did I say?
Yeah. In Dallas. Yep.
Yeah, in Dallas too.
So exactly, and the Stars were like one of the best teams in the league this season too. First in the Central, I think first in the entire West.
Yeah, you could possibly argue the best team. Well, here's the thing. I would argue the Stars are the most well-rounded team in the league, but the Rangers are the best team in the league. There's a difference between being. This might sound stupid, saying that there's a difference between being well-rounded and the best. It's because the Rangers have more consistency, but the Stars have the better depth. So if we do get a Ranger Stars final, fingers crossed, because that would be an awesome cup final. I would take the Stars in 7 because I like the Stars' depth more than the Rangers' depth. But that's for a discussion like a few weeks from now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, down the road.
And now we had Kings versus Oilers round 3. And the reason it's round 3 is because this happened in the previous 2 years, with the Edmonton Oilers coming out victorious both times. And here, of course, story as always, Edmonton catches fire and goals, and while the Kings were able to play pesky defense, they didn't have enough sustainable offense to hold off Edmonton. Of course, Edmonton still played their game. They relied heavily on the fast crossing, facilitating the puck to McDavid and Draisaitl. And so, yeah. So really nothing much to say there. Score is 7-4. It's still a great game. Of course, not as awesome as Abs Jets, but
Abs Jets.
So Avalanche will have a chance. That's right. Zach Hyman. I mean, Abs have a chance to redeem themselves tonight. Same with Nashville. So we'll see what happens. Right. I mean, Tampa Bay is currently still tied with Florida, 2-2 with about 90 seconds left in the second period. And the Caps and Rangers, second game, 13 minutes left in the period. And the third period, Rangers still holding on to a 4-2 lead. So, of course, playoff hockey, anything can happen. So even if a team is leading like 70 to 12 with like 15 seconds left in hockey, hey, you never know.
Yeah, Stanley Cup Playoff, certainly unpredictable. Certainly exciting, fun. I've been really enjoying the first couple of days of both like basketball and hockey. But I mean, Stanley Cup Playoffs are really on a different level. So yeah, I mean, NBA series are going really well. They're pretty exciting, but you could say the exact same thing about NHL, and we've had some great games, some great matchups, which will continue on for both sports in the next week or so in the first round, and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, I mean, I think that's all we got time for today. I mean, baseball season's of course still going on. Still early on in the season. The other big event, the NFL draft, scheduled for Thursday. Looking forward to that. It's been a lot of speculation on quarterbacks and especially for the Giants with the first few picks. I'm expecting team to trade up. We'll see. Maybe possibly the Chargers trading or the Vikings trading up and getting McCarthy. We'll see how everything plays out. But yeah, NFL draft is this Thursday through Saturday. MLB season's still going, NBA and NHL playoffs going on strong. So next week we'll focus on how things have progressed in the first round. As we get closer to the second round for both the NBA and NHL, we'll discuss the NFL drafts, the big takeaways from, I guess all the rounds, but especially the first round and all the exciting. Might get back into baseball action as well. But in the meantime,
Wait,
this has
wait.
been another
Speaking of
episode.
baseball, speaking of baseball, like we'll sign off after this. But I don't know if you saw that Aaron Boone ejection from the other day, where he didn't say a word.
Oh, that
Like a
was so,
fan was
yeah, I
mimicking
saw
him.
that. That was fun. Yeah.
That was
It
funny.
was like, it was funny because like a fan like said, like, basically said something like, to the ump, and then he threw out Aaron Boone, and I was just like, oh god, like that was not great. And then it's like, I didn't
Or
say
tell,
anything. It's
I'll
no
tell you what.
offense, but anyway.
How many? By the end of the season, how many ejections do you think Aaron Boone will have? I would place the over under at 12 and a half.
12 and a half. That sounds about right. I mean, I feel like he gets ejected probably more than like most managers, so
All right,
somewhere
so
around
will
that
you take the
range
over?
would be.
Will you take the over?
Yeah, probably. I'd probably take the over on that, to be honest. But he's a pretty animated guy. But if they tried this thing where they, saying stuff, it might be over pretty quickly. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, good start for the Yankees. I think they're starting to taper off just a little bit, but somehow now, they've fallen down a second in the division, but is what it is. It's early. Orioles at the 57 record. Yankees 15-8. Yeah, pretty early. Guardians lead in the Central. Rangers lead in the AL West. Astros somehow have a 7-6 record, which I'm actually really happy about. I'm seeing that, but Texas Rangers and Mariners at the top of the AL West. NL East, the Braves look to be about as good as they were last year, 16-6. Phillies not too far behind, 15-8. The Mets in third, 12-10, starting to kind of revive their season a little bit there. Actually had a good series against the Dodgers, taking 2 of 3. Central Brewers at the
Edwin
top.
Diaz was clutch.
Yeah,
Edwin
clutch
Diaz was
save
clutch.
against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a couple. He had good saves there. Yeah, I guess the trumpets are going off then. So and then in the NL Central, where's Cubs. That's a pretty competitive division. Reds, Pirates. I guess their hot start, and then the Cardinals, and then in the NL West, of course, you got the Dodgers in first. But with 13-11 record, Padres not too far behind. D-backs and Giants also not too far behind, 11-13.
I mean, I
And then the
expect
Rockies are pretty miserable, 5-18.
I expect the Dodgers to be 100-win contenders. This is embarrassing for them.
Yeah, 13-11 is pretty average, to be honest. So they're kind of in the mix. Yeah, that could be an interesting division the way that's going with your teams really in the race. And then, yeah, on the bad side, I guess you got the Marlins 6-19. The Rockies 5-18, and the White Sox with 3-9 record. For the worst in baseball. So, looking pretty embarrassing. Although they have 3-1 lead Twins, but yeah, that's kind of your state of the MLB. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. We had to talk about. Guardians look pretty hot, 17-6. It might be the best record in all of baseball right now, but like I said, still early. Actually, I'm going to a Yankees game with the radio station on Thursday against the A's to close out that series. My first time. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be going to the Bronx, so looking forward to
Hey,
that one. Should be a good time.
maybe you
Hopefully,
might maybe you might see Aaron Boone get ejected again. Who knows?
it could be, yeah, for the second time in 4 days. Who knows? It should be a good time. They win. They got the A's again. Fourth game out of 4. So, yeah, I mean that should be fun. But it's been a good episode of Sports Vibe. Obviously, always a pleasure to talk about the playoffs, especially NBA and NHL playoffs. I feel like we did a lot of previewing, a lot of projections. So great to see the series in action. So yeah, I mean, we'll be back next week with more NBA and NHL coverage of the playoff series. We'll also talk about the NFL draft and MLB baseball. But in the meantime, this has been another episode of Sports Vibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar signing off here for Jitesh Ramakrishnan, and we will see you next week.